Welcome to the very first WRAL Triangle and Two podcast. I'm your host, Mark Bergin, joined by my guy, Luis Fernandez. Luis, this is a reunion of sorts. We're talking, it's National Oreo Cookie Day. This analogy is going to be lost about a year from now. I couldn't find any lemon Oreo cookies at my local Harris Teeter, but we're recording this right on the eve of the ACC Tournament. Luis, how are you this afternoon, my man?
I am doing great, Mark. It's funny. There were actually about 6 boxes of lemon Oreo cookies in the media section at the Dean Smith Center on Saturday. I don't know who brought them. I definitely snuck a couple. They were solid. It just tasted like any kind of lemon dessert. I get it. It would not be my favorite cookie, but I understand the hype.
Luis, let's get right into it. Duke UNC. Duke sweeps the season series in the 2022-23 season. I'm just going to say this right off the top. It didn't have the fanfare. It didn't have the luster of what this rivalry has had in previous seasons, let alone last season. You had Coach K's final season. You had multiple first-round picks for Duke, chiefly Paolo Banchero. Neither of these teams are ranked, but it was hard for me to muster the same amount of enthusiasm that I had last season compared to this year. What say you?
Well, I mean, yes, I think to an extent it's going to be hard to kind of top the level of enthusiasm surrounding those 3 matchups. I mean, how many times are UNC and Duke going to meet in the Final Four? I don't know. Hopefully, never again. Personally, I kind of one of those situations that give you heart palpitations. Oh, hold on, I just had a Teams notification pop up. Let me close this window.
All good, Luis. And I'll say this too. Last year, you had Caleb Love hitting the big jumper over Mark Williams in New Orleans and UNC knocking out Duke in the Final Four. So it wasn't just K. But if you're a UNC fan, you take last season over this season 9 times out of 10. But now the question to me leads, Luis, is who's going to be coming back? Because short of winning the ACC tournament, we'll get to that in a little bit. I can't help but wonder, is Armando Bacot back? What about Caleb Love, RJ Davis? They have the option to come back to Chapel Hill if they so choose. But at a certain point, the NIL deal money is great and everything. And that's opened up a lot of opportunities for a lot of other college athletes. But at a certain point, it's just if you're NBA ready, you got to be able to go. UNC starts the season, preseason number 1. And now, right now, Luis, short of winning the ACC tournament, they're going to be on the outside looking in. And it's we might be talking NIT with the Tar Heels. If you just said that at the start of the season, I mean, use whatever adjective you want to. It's crazy, absolutely out of your mind. I just can't believe it, Luis.
The field expanded to 64 teams in 1984, and the preseason number 1 has never missed. That just says it all right there. I mean, what comes next? It's going to be big picture, kind of difficult to determine. Armando Bacot can technically come back. He said on Wednesday that, on Thursday, that he wasn't really sure what he was going to do yet. It was something he was going to think about once the season is over. Right now, the way things are set up, the UNC can't lose another game for the remainder of college basketball. The next game they lose, in my opinion, will be the last game they play. So they just got to roll with it and see what happens. RJ Davis, I think, will come back. Caleb Love, that's a big question mark. It's going to be really interesting. It would not surprise me if this roster looked a lot different. Transfers, all of that, going to be something very interesting to watch come this offseason.
Luis, here's where I'm at. I think Bacot's gone to the league. Love, I think, is a bit of a coin flip. I think he ultimately goes. I'm with you there. I think Davis returns for another season. But I look at this, and it's 4 of your 5 starters are back, which everyone knows. The average age of this Tar Heels team of the starting lineup, 22.4 years old. Bacot was the overwhelming favorite as the ACC preseason player of the year. He's like a double-double machine, and it's just how in the heck is this team that started out preseason number 1, didn't expect them to keep the top spot all season long, but they're 1-9 against quadrant 1 games. They're 2-10 against teams currently projected to reach the field of 68. The sum doesn't equal its parts with this Tar Heels team, Luis. And I'm sorry to add salt to the wound because I know you are a UNC grad.
I am. Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate the salt. I think it's so tough because last year you look at the run that they made and it was so much of making the right plays at the right times in those critical moments. And they just haven't been able to do that this year. You can just go back game after game after game, Duke twice, Syracuse, Alabama, Iowa State. It feels like almost every single game that was important to them, there was just a fumbling of it towards the end. And you have to be able to shoot the ball as well. I mean, shooting the percentages that they have, from three, that is not going to do it for you in this modern NBA. It makes you really, or modern college basketball, it makes you really easy to defend. People know you get to double team Armando Bacot, kind of push the ball on the outside, sag off of some of these 3-point shooters that aren't as consistent, and kind of live and die with those outside shots. And it's just, it really is, it's more complicated than that, but not being able to make open shots is one of the big reasons why UNC's in this position right now.
It was evident on Saturday, Lewis, shooting just a tick above 30% from the floor. And it's just
Mm.
like, if you can't, they always say at the NBA, it's a make or miss league, but that was the story on Saturday. Now, ACC tournament's getting underway, and the Triangle teams, UNC will play the winner of Boston College, Louisville on Wednesday night. Following that game, NC State's going to take on the winner of Virginia Tech and Notre Dame. Duke has bye until the quarterfinals on Thursday nights. So, Lewis, the question begs is which of the Triangle teams is going to make it the furthest? I think really we have two choices here. I want to hear what you say, and I can make the case for the other one, but go
Well,
ahead.
I mean, double buys, I think, go a very long way in helping you, especially in these type of tournaments. That's why you play the regular season. That's why you get these wins to be in that top 4 spot in the conference. So I think it's got to be Duke that has the potential to go the farthest. When you look at their matchups, they did lose to Miami, who could be a team that they would play if they were to win that first game. So it'll be interesting, but I do think semifinals kind of feels like the floor for this Duke team. They don't really have any of these guys that are going to absolutely blow you away. I mean, Derek Lively is incredibly talented from a defensive perspective. Jeremy Roach has been that veteran leader. Kyle Filipowski, he barbecue chicken is all I got to say with some of the moves he was making on the low post. It was crazy. But I think that they just have the lowest or the highest floor, I should say. I think semifinals is the easy to see Duke getting at least there in this tournament.
I'm with you with Duke in the sense that Lively and Filipowski can kind of do like the Twin Towers type thing and create matchup problems for opposing teams solely with their length. Now, Filipowski on the offensive end, Lively on the defensive end. And I'm going to say this, and this is no knock on, like, I'm reluctant to do this, but Derek Lively, his impact defensively when he's got it going, it's like Anthony Davis light, like
Oh,
very, very light.
very,
But that's
very
what,
light
yes,
without the
yes.
offense.
But that's what it reminds me of the kind of impact he can have protecting the rim, blocking shots, getting rebounds, and getting your offense set up, just the defensive impact that he makes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He was depending on how much you like plus minus. He led both teams in plus minus in the game against UNC on Saturday. It's what he is. It makes it very, very hard. Their rim protection, even when Lively had the 4 fouls and was taken out at like the 17-minute mark of the second half, the Duke's defense adjusted, and you got to credit John Shire for what he's been able to do with this team. And I just, like I said, low or high floor is what this feels like for this Duke ACC tournament run.
Let me make the case for the Wolfpack,
Mm-hmm.
Lewis. The guard play. And we get obsessed over this in March. Terquavion Smith, Jarkel Joyner. Man, those guys, when they have it right, you can see why both of those players have NBA futures. I would be shocked if they're still at Raleigh a year from now. Either player, I think both of them, I think that highly of both of them. I know Smith's really the only one who has the option of coming back, but they've been very excited. And then how about some love for the big fella, my guy, DJ
DJ
Burns?
Burns.
Oh, and he transferred from Tennessee. Lewis, many moons ago, we worked together in Knoxville,
Many
and
moons.
he bounced around a little bit. But when they get the ball to the big fella offensively, he knows how to throw his weight around, cause problems. If you're not going to double him, he knows how to use his body to score down low, create matchup problems. If I'm an opposing team, I put him in a screen and roll and make him defend perimeter players, make him defend wings, make him defend guards in a pick and roll switch situation. But offensively, he causes problems to where if you don't double him, he can score. He can score consistently. But then those two guards, that's the case I'd make for the Wolfpack. I think they go as far as Jarkel Joyner and Terquavion Smith can carry them, because when they have it right, they're as good as any tandem, I would argue, in all of college basketball. But again, it's funny because several weeks ago, Lewis, it was looking like NC State, of all the Triangle teams, were belle of the ball. They've sputtered. They've lost 2 in a row, 3 of their last 5. Duke is now kind of the belle of the ball, And UNC, who had won 3 in a row, they slip up in the Battle of the Blues. So it's almost like a musical chair situation, Lewis. That's what I'll say.
No, I think that's fair. And I think Jarkel Joyner and Taquavion Smith are so much fun to watch. DJ Burns is fantastic. My thing at this point is, they're going to have to play Clemson. Should they win that first game, which I think they should, they'd play the winner of Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. I don't think that should be an issue for them. But Clemson, what's that matchup going to look like? They just lost to Clemson a few weeks back. And Clemson, plays well. It'll be interesting to see how that one goes. But I could definitely see them getting to the semifinals. And UNC, we haven't even brought them up in this conversation because they have to play most likely a hot Boston College team. If Quentin Post is healthy, I know he twisted his ankle or sprained his ankle against Georgia Tech this weekend. But if he's healthy, he's a matchup nightmare, and he's going to be really tough for them to play. And then if they beat Boston College, congratulations, Virginia. And I know that UNC just beat Virginia, but they're going to have another really great shooting night. And this team is just so inconsistent shooting outside. It's hard to see them getting much further past Thursday.
Lewis, you had that great stat earlier about UNC. I've got another one for you. Duke and UNC unranked during Saturday's Battle of the Blues matchup. They were unranked as well when they played in February, on February the 4th. The last 2 times the 2 teams were unranked, February 6th, 2021. But then before that, you got to go all the way back to 1960. So it's weird not to have one of the 2 schools in the top 25, let alone the caliber of recruits that they consistently bring in. There's a reason why they're blue bloods consistently. It's just been a strange season, really, for both teams, for both Duke and UNC. I don't know what to expect because you could tell me that UNC could go on a run a lot like they did last year. I wouldn't be surprised. I
It's
really
the same
wouldn't be
team.
surprised.
It's
But
essentially the same team.
the likelihood of that happening, I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
No, they just, whatever reason it might be, they just don't have it. They just don't have it this year, and it is what it is. We'll see what ends up happening. Come the ACC tournament, and anything can happen. But like I said, I think the next time that they lose a game, it will be their last game of the season.
Really quickly, favorite before the ACC tournament, and we'll go to the NFL Combine, Lewis. I will take Virginia. It's the safe pick. They play at a slow, methodical pace, but they've got like 3 guys that are double-digit scorers. I think that their high scores like 12 points a game, Lewis. I'm going to take Virginia. It's a very safe pick to win the ACC tournament. What do you think?
I think it's going to come from the top part of the bracket.
Okay.
I'm going to take Pitt just because I think it'd be different.
Ooh.
It'd be fun. I think they've shown that they compete with all these top teams. I also think it'd be just picking Miami would be a little bit too like chalk. So I'm gonna go with Pitt. Let's see what the Panthers can do.
All right, Lewis, NFL Combine is wrapping up.
Yeah.
The Panthers have the 9th pick. A lot of standouts this weekend. And we found out today, breaking news here on WRAL Triangle and Two. Derek Carr is going to go to the Saints. So that eliminates one quarterback option that the Panthers were one of the favorites to sign Derek Carr. What do the Panthers do now at quarterback? Number 9, Anthony Richardson. His stock, the Florida quarterback, is rising very, very quickly after this weekend.
Moon.
What do you think happens? What do the Panthers do at number 9? What happens at the quarterback position? Walk us through after what's been an exciting weekend with the NFL Combine.
The NFL Combine is always so much fun because, it's how well do these players move in shorts versus in pads. And I don't know. It's one of those things where I think there's a lot to learn from it, but you need to be careful how much stock you put into it. So when you look at it, I think they're going to take that first round pick and use it on a quarterback. Just with how everything's shaken out in free agency, it doesn't really seem likely that they're going to go with that free agent route. If they did, it would be someone like a Derek Carr, who, by the way, as someone who has Chris Olave in a fantasy football keepers league, very excited that he's heading to New Orleans. But I think that, it's the question is which quarterback is going to be left? CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Those 4, to me, are the possible option there at 9. And I don't know if one of them is going to be there at 9, which means they would have to trade up for that. Looking into it a little bit, ever since Scott Fitterer came into the picture in 2021, they have been active in trading picks. You look at the Dan Arnold, the Sam Darnold, obviously those kind of ones that happened outside of the draft, but they've also been active in terms of trading actual draft picks during the draft. The one thing you really haven't seen from the Panthers as an organization is trading up those top end first round picks. So in order to get one of these guys, I think they're going to have to do something that they've never done before, which is trade higher up into higher up in that top 10. I mean, I think Bryce Young is probably going to be the first guy off the board, but Anthony Richardson he's so interesting from an athletic perspective. I tried to tell myself not to fall for the Anthony Richardson hype because, he wasn't exactly great at Florida. He has some accuracy issues, some ball placement issues, but my goodness, his athleticism jumps off the charts. He has great vision, his pocket presence. He has that kind of all of these tools. The foundation is there. You just need someone to coach him up a little bit from the accuracy and ball placement perspective. And that's kind of part of the reason why you hire Frank Reich in the first place, is to coach someone up. Will he be there though? I don't know.
Lewis, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think any of the 4 quarterbacks you named are going to be there at 9. So you're going to have to trade up, point blank, period. Like, the premium at the quarterback position in the NFL, you hamstring your ability to win if you don't have a blue chip guy. Now, a player like Anthony Richardson, the coaching fit and the personnel around him, I think, and you could say this about any rookie, but for him particularly, there is no ceiling, but there might not be a floor either. With some of
Yeah.
the other quarterbacks, I think you kind of have a better idea of what you're going to get. Now, a lot of people are going to make a big deal about the size of Bryce Young, and it is a big deal, Lewis, because similar size, height, and weight to Kyler Murray. And, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees are the names that get thrown out there. A lot of quarterbacks 6 foot and under, but those are really the exception, not the rule at the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers have to get someone, because I go back to, in the post Cam Newton era, and I'm not talking about his second stint, but you bring in Teddy Bridgewater, it doesn't work. Then no, we're going to bring in Sam Darnold. That doesn't work. Baker Mayfield, we can get Cleveland to pay his salary, and we can get maybe a diamond in the rough for 50 cents on the dollar. But the reality of the situation, Lewis, is the way that the Panthers handled the quarterback situation a year ago. They allocated the 10th highest amount of money in the NFL to the quarterback position last season.
Jeez.
They didn't have the 10th best quarterback play in
No.
the league. So you bring in Baker Mayfield for a 1-year rental, really half-season rental, and it's like, oh, this is a savvy move. But it's because you haven't been able to find the guy post Cam Newton. How are you going to be able to do that moving forward? And trying to sign one of these veterans maybe as a stopgap for the young quarterback that you seek to develop. But I just don't see it right now. And look, the 2 quarterbacks under contract right now, Matt Corral, Jacob Eason, I really don't think that they're the answers either. So you've got to go to the draft. You're likely going to have to trade up, like you said, Lewis.
Yeah. Not my question to you, Mark, is let's go ahead and eliminate maybe Bryce Young from the equation. I do think he's going to be top 3. Which quarterback do you feel like would be the best fit for the Panthers? Be the guy the Panthers should, if everything turns out great, this is the guy who falls in their lap.
Levis. Honestly, if you get Levis, I think you're over the moon. I think you're ecstatic because, yes, CJ Stroud, like, they all looked impressive this last weekend. The ones that worked out at the combine, the ones that threw at the combine. Levis is almost like when Justin Herbert was coming in the league and no one knew anything about him really coming in. And then once they saw him play and his ability to make throws, I think someone's going to fall in love with Richardson. But again, I think fit is probably most important for Richardson, whereas like other great quarterbacks are able to make it work regardless of what system, scheme, coach they're able to go to. Richardson, I think the fit is probably the most important for his success. Young, I would say the same thing too, because Young's so undersized. If he has a bad offensive line in front of him, if he doesn't have the weight to be able to protect himself as
He's
a
gonna get
player.
hurt.
So I think if the Panthers could wind up at least with one of these guys, if they wound up with Levis, though, that would really, really excite me. Not the sexy or the flashy pick, Lewis, but it's about what are you going to be able to do to get yourself back in a situation where you're not just contending to win what's been a weaker division this past season in the NFC South. What can you do to get yourself as a contender again? You got to have the quarterback, and the Panthers, point blank period, have not had that now for several seasons.
Yeah. I think we're going to find out a lot about what the Panthers' future will look like based on this quarterback pick. Because I think someone like Levis, someone like Richardson is going to need a little more time to develop. Levis has a lot of potential. He even said himself he was excited to get out there and throw because he had a cannon. Um, but there was some inconsistency, some turnover issues. Kentucky in the SEC plays a lot of really good defenses, but still, Richardson, you see the potential fly through the ceiling, but there were some easy, obvious plays that are missed because of some accuracy and ball placement things. To me, though, if they get CJ Stroud, if CJ Stroud falls to the Panthers, in my mind, then the Panthers create a situation where he could be offensive rookie of the year. They could have a very quick turnaround because I think he is the most ready to start and play immediately. I don't know. I don't think he's going to fall that far. They would have to trade up to get him.
Yeah.
But CJ Stroud, to me, of that group, if I'm the Panthers, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Absolutely. And you look at like Richardson, like what highest vertical ever. And it's like, okay, when is a quarterback ever jumping that high? But at 240 plus pounds, and he's running a 4.40, Lewis, it's just like, good luck catching him when he's in the open field. And when an offensive coordinator is smart and is able to design plays and force an opposing defense to play 11 on 11, that's what's required in the modern NFL. So it's not to say, okay, do you need a Lamar Jackson or a Michael Vick style quarterback? That's not what I'm talking about, but it's about holding defenses accountable. Go late in the Super Bowl this past season. Patrick Mahomes scramble like 30 or 40 yards down the field that helped the Chiefs seal and win the game.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to do that as a quarterback in the 21st century, as a quarterback in this league, Lewis. And I got to throw another rhetorical out here. We're going to go away from the quarterback position really quickly.
Okay.
If Jalen Carter is there at number 9, it's a question you're going to have to ask.
Yeah. I mean, because his talent is through the roof. I mean, you see the way that he played in Georgia, when you're watching some of these guys like the Will Levis tape and things like that, he's constantly jumping out. Obviously everything that's going on with the legal stuff that has to get sorted out. And I'm sure these teams will do their due diligence. I think it's an interesting rhetorical question, but even with the legal stuff going on, I don't think that teams are going to let him slip. I don't think he's going to be there. Because this is a guy who, like, if the Bears end up keeping that pick instead of trading it, he's probably going to be their guy, or at least he was before everything that happened over this past week with the news of his potential involvement with the tragic crash that happened in Georgia earlier this year. So it's going to be really interesting. But ultimately it's going to be hard for me to see the Panthers picking someone that is not a quarterback, unless of course they're all gone, and then, well, good luck.
I know a lot of fans are with you there, Lewis. Now, as far as Jalen Carter goes, he's due in court on April the 18th. First round of the draft, April the 27th in Kansas City. We'll see how all that plays out. Not always popular to say, hey, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see to see how that process plays itself out, to see how I do think he will fall, though, Lewis. I do think he will fall to where before, I think he was in that conversation, top 3 picks. How far he falls, though, that's what we're going to remain to see. Any other observations from the combine that I'm missing, Lewis, before we wrap up here?
I keep in mind, if you're, Panthers fans listening, just make sure you're paying attention to the production of the players that are going to be drafted, as well as their athletic ability and their age. You gotta hit that, that athletic ability, and that the younger they are, you need to have that potential. It's hard being a 25-year-old, 24-year-old senior coming out here and trying to have a successful athletic career in the NFL. That's just kind of how I view it. Once again, combine numbers are important, but view them as part of the whole, not as everything.
Wise words there, Lewis. I am totally with you there. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, watching, and listening. It's our very first WRAL Triangle and Two. We're going to be out each Monday at 5 o'clock on the 99.9 Fan YouTube page. And Lewis, this was a lot of fun. Tap that subscribe button and whatever podcast platform. Tap subscribe, leave us a review. Let us know what questions you have. If you have feedback for us, leave us a 5-star review. But Lewis, this has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Mark. Can't wait to see what else we can cook up here over the next few months as the sports world really ramps up.
For Lewis Fernandez, I'm Mark Bergin. Thanks for watching WRAL Triangle and Two. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care, and so long, everybody.